Hello everyone, this is FlatLine, and today I'm going to be doing my third episode for the FlatLine Daily. And what we're going to go over is we want to understand our timings. Now timings come from, you want to have some kind of initial mindset going into a game. So for instance, in PvT, we're going to go over two replays. The first replay we'll be going over is they're both going to be on the same map, same matchup, different players. My initial mindset is I want to go for a 1-gate expand into double forge Colossus and either wait for a 3-3 timing or go for a 2-2 storm timing. I want to go into storm. Once I have 2 Colossus out, I want to stop making Colossus and just transition hardcore into storm and play aggressive from there. That is my initial mindset going into PvT. Now if I had to, I will back off on the idea of going for a 2-2 storm timing if he's playing super aggressive, and just sit back and go for a 3-3 timing instead. Cool. So we're gonna go over this, open up this replay here. My opponent's gonna be Salvation. And we can speed up because we're not really worried about the opening itself. Obviously, if you do scout something unorthodox, let's say he lit to the gold, he goes for gas first or something like that, then it might raise a few eyebrows there, and you might want to alter your build or your mindset that you had going into the game into something else. Usually whenever you go for an initial mindset, it's usually you're trying to cater to a build where your mindset is, okay, I think my opponent will be doing this. And usually you'll be thinking your opponent will be doing the most common build or the most common opener. So for instance, in PvT, the most common opener is a Reaper expand. Unfortunately, Salvation is not doing that. He's just going for a gasless expand. Cool. That means I'm going to change up my build and go for a pretty quick Nexus before Cyber. Now if he was going for Reaper, I wouldn't do this, just because I'm not going to have any kind of range units that can actually track Reaper down. If you see, I'm checking with my probe, seeing if he's going to play aggressive or not, and it looks like he's just going to be playing pretty passive at this point. Alright, the other thing you can look at, knowing your timings, we learned the timing of his gas. He had none, so there's really nothing to be afraid of moving with the Stalker in the middle of the map. You can kind of gain map control, you can kind of gain map vision, you can see when he's moving out with his army, as long as you're on top of your Stalker. There's my robotics facility, adding on extra gates here. Have my robotics bay, here's my double forge. Gonna scout. Everything pretty much normal coming out from him, and pretty normal for me as well. There's my double forge. Now I'm starting to make units. This map is, you also want to, when you go into an initial mindset, you also want to take consideration of the map itself. See if you kind of, play a little bit greedy because of the map. So for instance, on this map, you have a very narrow ramp at your natural, so you can probably skip a lot of corners. As long as you have 2 sentries with enough energy to force field this, then you should be pretty much fine against them. So remember, our initial mindset, double forge Colossus, a third around the time my second Colossus comes out, or it's about to come out, into Storm, and then either go for a 2-2 Storm timing if he's going to play a little bit passive. If he's going to constantly play super aggressive, then we'll go for a 3-3 timing. We'll just sit back and defend. Once we have 3-3, we're going to go ahead and attack into him. Looks like I forgot +1. or +2 attack by accident. Yeah, I just realized it now. Alright, there's that storm. There's my second Colossus. You see, I'm gonna stop my Colossus going to robotics here. I haven't seen him transfer any SCVs, so I know he's on 2 base still. So there's no reason for me to go for a 3rd base at this point. Alright, so his arm in a very weird position. It was down here. It's pretty much, you kind of assume that they have a 3rd base because I mean the army's over there. That's interesting. Okay, I'm gonna pause it here. So this is where I go for a 2-2 storm timing. Now, we need to recap what we said. We wanted to go for a 2-2 storm timing. If he was gonna play a passive, if he was gonna always play super aggressive, we would have waited for a 3-3 instead. But instead he's playing really passive, so we're gonna go ahead and put on the aggression. Once we set our foot on his side of the map, it's really hard for the Zerg player to pick up some units and drop, you know, at my base. It's a lot easier for him to do that if he's constantly aggressive. That's why I would say you want to just sit back until you get 3-3 and then move out. Because once you have 3-3, you should have 3 bases fully saturated. You should have a Dark Shrine. You should have cannons. You should have your maximum number of gateways you wanted on 3 bases, etc., etc. If you go for a 2-2 storm timing, you can look. My 3rd hasn't been done. I do have storm and I do have 2-2. Well, +1 attack. But once I get to his base, I'm gonna have 2-2. Cooliosis. The other big thing also we have to remember is that he went up to 5 racks before he threw down his 3rd command center. His 3rd command center was really late, so that means his economy is not the best. If his economy is not the best, then he's not going to be able to make, you know, is he able to get all those upgrades? Is he going to be able to get the Vikings and Ghosts? Like, there's things he has to cut, and it looks like he is going to be cutting his upgrades just pretty slightly here. As I said, I used C2. The other thing he's also missing is his Ghost Academy, just realizing that. He doesn't have any Ghost Academy. He's going to rely on Factory, so it looks like he's going to go into Little Mines here. He's a really annoying unit. Alright, so here is our engagement. Remember, our Colossus is not the most important thing right now. It's going to be the High Templars. Land those storms, so you can see I'm not really microing my Colossus. The 2 Colossus for this build is mainly to just survive until I get Storm. Once I get Storm, those Colossus can go somewhere else. That's all I care about. You just want Storm. Obviously, if you're able to keep the Colossus alive, it's better for you. Just remember that if you do this kind of style, it's not super important once you have Storm. When you don't have Storm, it's like the biggest thing in the world for you. Alright, so we're doing that timing. So understanding the timing that we're doing with a 2-2 storm timing, what does that do? It forces Terran to focus in the main engagement because he has to spread, he has to stem, and he also has to dodge storms. That's a lot of APM, right? So having it synced up with a drop in the main is a very nice tactic. Very nice tactic to go by. You see, he is pushing me back here. So here, getting more High Templars. I mean, this game is going to go on for quite a bit. There's my Storm. He doesn't have any ghosts. Like I said, he has to do some kind of sack because of his opening. The 5 racks into Vikings. Looks like he wanted to keep up with the upgrades and make those Vikings or Star Corps units. Because of that, he's not going to be able to get up to Ghost Academy and get Ghost out. As many ghosts as he probably wants. Let's say if he went 3 racks and then 3rd CC, he might be able to do that. Probably would be able to do that, but like the small little details like that makes a huge difference. Alright, so we're gonna speed things up here. I'm gonna play pretty aggressive at this point. Let me see if I'm missing anything. Nope. What of mine's ridiculous. Killed all my zealots. Alright, the High Templars are keeping me alive. What's preventing him to win is pretty much he doesn't have any ghosts to deal with my High Templar. Identify that. Should be able to just pretty much keep him on the back foot. A lot of Widow Mines though. Alright, so I added on 2 more robos. Now we're gonna pause it here and we need to understand a new timing. We passed that phase where I already did my timing that I wanted to do and try to win the game on. So now we have to go to another step. Now we have to go to the unexpected route on how am I supposed to win this game. First thing you need to know, be aware of, is how the matchup is played. What is the weakness and what is your strength? The pros and cons for both races. So the pros, we're just going to cover up Protoss right here. The pros for Protoss in late game is the ability to tech switch from just a heavy gateway army to a Colossus based army. And with the 2nd and 3rd robo, I'm going to be able to crank out 3 Colossus at a time. 3 Colossus at a time. And the downside to Terran is that if they make too many Vikings and I decide to go into High Templars, it's a lot of gas that you just wasted and they land them. They're not even that good on ground. They're only really there to pretty much kill off your Colossus. Now let's say he has a lot of ghosts, then I would go into more heavier on the Colossus route. And so on and so on. You can see I'm pretty much staying still at this watchtower, and there's really nothing he can do about it, right? I mean, he's expanding, which is really nice of him. But that's pretty much all he can do until he can get these ghosts out, which he's getting right now. Then he can put on some kind of aggression. Then he can kick me out of this position. But just a really good timing for me is the Colossus. Pretty much throughout that game, I'm like, okay, he's been having struggles with the High Templars. I mean, he has to be like, okay, it's time for me to get Ghost. It's pretty much what was going through my head at this point. Like, okay, I mean, the storm is pretty much preventing him from winning, so he has to prevent the storm. The way for him to prevent the storm is going to be Ghost. Still making my Colossus here. You can see I haven't even shown them yet. You don't only want to show them until you have to. Let's say if they scan it, then I mean you might as well show it. But if they don't know about the element of surprise, then don't even worry about it. It's kind of like PvZ. You know, Zerg or ZVP. Zerg goes for a Hydroling into a Meto Switch. You know, those are really common. It's that surprise factor for you, and you're like, oh my gosh, I was not prepared for that. Same situation in this matchup. Engage on me. I lose all my ground army supporting the Colossus, unfortunately, but I keep most of my Colossus alive. I think only one died. Okay, now let's look at the game. We're gonna pause it here, and we need to understand a new timing that was formed because of what was going on in the game. Our timing is, okay, he doesn't have any Vikings, he has a very small army. What does this mean? It's time for me to just make a huge gateway army to support my Colossus and pretty much go for the win. You see these High Templars that I'm warping in? Where are they? Right here? They are not there to get stormed. They're actually here to make Archons to help hit that timing quicker. Please tell me I'm right. I would be really sad if I'm not. Up he is making my Archons. Okay, cool. Look at all these ghosts. Now these ghosts would have been perfect if I stayed on High Templars. But I'm going into Colossus and look how many Vikings he's making. Only 2 at a time. There's no way he's going to be able to hold this because there's too many Colossus for him to kill off on time. By the time he kills off all my Colossus, if he's able to kill off all my Colossus, he's going to lose his entire ground army. Here's our engagement, not enough Vikings, and go ahead and get the win. Cool. So there we kind of understand the initial mindset and how it progressed from there. I was able to get to that stage that I wanted to hit a 2-2 storm timing. And then from there, it didn't really kill my opponent, so now I had to add on more timings to what my initial mindset had. Okay, so we're gonna go over one more replay. Here we go, habitation, PVT. You're gonna see me open up pretty much the same way that I did in the first game. I'm gonna open up with the 9 scout, and then from there, my mindset is to go for 1 gate expand into a double forge Colossus into a third after 2 Colossus and get storm after the second Colossus, and then go for a 2-2 storm timing, or like I said, if they're playing super aggressive, wait until I get 3-3 and then do a timing. Alright, so our opponent is deviating a little bit from the build that we saw in the first game. He's actually getting gas. So what does this mean? He's opening up Reaper compared to the other players. So instead of going for that super fast Nexus that you saw in the first game, I'm going to be staying on 1 base just a little bit longer. Just a little bit longer. We don't really care about this opening. You can see I'm not playing really aggressive with my Stalker because of the Reaper is out on the map. Getting my observers. Observer gets over here, sees Widow Mines, sees Medevacs and Marines. Okay, and I see an SCV little train going on here. What does this mean? Timing wise, it looks like he's going for, not timing wise, it looks like he's going for a 3rd base at the gold, and he just wanted to transfer a pretty good number of SCVs to actually make up for that cost. And he's going to try to keep me contained on my 2 base, kind of keep me back on the back foot while his 3rd base kicks in. And he's going to try to do that with Widow Mines and some Marines. Now upon scouting this, generally whenever you see a Protoss go for 2 double forge, they don't go for a 1-1 timing just because it's not efficient. It's more efficient once you get 2-2 or 3-3. But I scouted that he went for this style, and he's getting a third base over here. Now, if you look at the map, what do you think is the? I mean, what's bad about this base for Terran? What is bad about this base against Terran, or for Terran? Alright. The answer is this ledge right here. It's really difficult for him to kind of deal with my Colossus once he gets over here. He's gonna have to run through here if anything. The decision to wait for my Colossus is really smart on my end. Alright, so 1-1 finishing up. I have a pretty good number of stalkers, and my Colossus as well. I have 2 Colossus here doing his damage. You can see there's a difference. You know, I'm playing aggressive. Why? It's because I scouted what happened to my opponent. He's getting a third base. He went for a harass opening with the Widow Mines, Medevac, and Marines, and did absolutely squat with them. So deflecting that allows me. I should generally have more supply in army than my opponent, because he invested 400 minerals early in the game for a third orbital. Actually, he invested 550 because he had to change it into an orbital from a command center. Here's our pressure. We're gonna go ahead and pressure. This could be a little bit scary, I would say, but it's really risky of him to try to stem and stay up with my army, because I have a pretty good number of stalkers here protecting my Colossus. There we go. He kills off my Colossus, but at what cost? Yeah, so you can see this is a whole new time. This is a 1-1 time. I'm not doing 2-2. I'm not getting storm or anything like that. This was a 1-1 timing upon scouting what was going on in the game and then responding to it. This is what I was talking about. Like, there's so many different responses, and it just you want to find a way to scout it, like the response from Terran, that would indicate for you to go for this branch or this route or this route, or you know, it's really easy to just go autopilot mode. Like, let's say I decided, instead of pressuring him, I decided to go for the typical 2-2 storm timing with a third base follow-up as well. His gold income would have made it into a profit. He would have made more than what he put in and the time invested into that, so he's gonna have more units than me. But I think then we're gonna wrap it up like that. Thank you for watching. If you haven't already, you can definitely click the follow button on my Twitch and Twitter. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel as well. You can check out my website at flatlinese2.com for all that Protoss cool stuff, and it's a little bit more structured, a little bit more organized than my other stuff. So yeah, anyways, thank you for watching, and I will see you later.